But speaking of Paul Pierce and Boston and the Big Three, we could say that that was what we would consider the dawn and the beginning of the Big Three era. They were the first team that kind of got, I guess, affiliated with that saying.
Yeah.
But now we're coming in at about 14 years later. Do you guys think that we have reached the end of the Big Three era?
I believe that we have. Beginning last season, it's really been teams of duos. We're in the duo era.
Duo.
Yeah, KD, Kyrie, LeBron, AD. There's a lot of other teams just had big duos on their teams. So yeah, I do think Big Three era.
But I also think it's not just. I agree with you, but I don't think it's just duos, but just like teams with depth. Like we have gone to even like Boston, just like super deep teams, just and like Miami and Phoenix Suns, what they were before. Obviously, they fumbled the bag, but like,
as well.
yeah, I mean, like we've come to like just how it probably always should have been, just like really deep quality teams with quality benches, and then you have 1 to 2 superstars instead of just being so front loaded with like 3 guys.
I don't think so, man. I think the Big Three. I mean, Big Threes are still going to be a thing in the future. Like all these guys are friends. They all talk to each other. They all share agents. When it comes to All-Star Weekend, they're all fucking partying with each other and shit on the off. Especially on the off season, these guys are training with each other. They're going to whatever California. They're going.
Gabe, when was the last Big Three that won a When was the last Big Three that won a championship? Cleveland.
It's got Cleveland. Who Mozgov? What are you talking about? Cleveland.
Well, when they all bought out. No, but I'm saying
three? Tristan Thompson.
That's when they went back and they put all that money into Kevin Love and they retained Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. That was the last time. Like, what was the last time we saw a big I guess Brooklyn. That was a failed experience.
The Heatles. That's it.
No, Golden State. Jesus.
Oh yeah, also Golden State.
Durant, Thompson, and Curry.
Because Golden State,
for me,
they didn't need Durant.
But to me, like Golden State wasn't like 3. It's not like 3 guys though. I mean, that team was just really good. Like they had a really good team as a whole.
You throw in KD, this whole conversation changes. I don't care what. Yes, they had an amazing team on top of KD, which. That's a big 5, bro.
Yeah, they didn't need.
That's not 3 though. Like I'm talking about, like specifically, like when guys went out and just got 3. I guess the last one I would say the Nets would probably be the last one. Nah, think about it.
The Nets.
When they went out and got KD and they got Harden and they got Kyrie.
I wouldn't even consider that because 1, I wasn't in a winning team, and 2, they traded.
But I'm not talking about a winning team. I'm talking about like that was their goal, is to go out there and get 3 guys. They went and did that. It wasn't successful, but that's what they did. And we haven't seen anything since that. We haven't seen another team really do that same thing.
I think it's still possible, man. These guys, like I said, these guys are friends. They train with each other. They share agents and shit. So it's gonna happen again. I mean, these guys.
Steve had that Big Three, that failed experiment. Paul George, Melo, and
almost had a Big 4 if you consider.
There's a lot of failed experiments, man. There's a lot.
Yeah, we didn't know at the time, but
LA when they brought out the fucking retirement home Big Three with Kobe on his last, and Steve Nash and Dwight Howard, like
that was kind of. I mean, 2000s.
You're talking more recent. LA.
No, I'm talking about like
Kobe,
that Steve Nash, Dwight Howard,
Dwight Howard, yeah.
That was.
It's still gonna happen, man. It's still gonna happen. Like
I don't know. I think we're going more towards diversifying your salary, and I think seeing what Boston's doing now is going to reshape the way teams start building their teams.
Well, why Boston? Why not the Heat?
Boston's the one in the finals right now, and they're the one leading the series and could win the championship. The Heat aren't.
Yeah, but the Heat were right there, and they kind of have the same built team, just like that.
Yeah. I mean, you can say both of them, but at the end of the day, I mean,
I don't think
who's the one that's farther right now?
Okay, they won a game 7. But in terms of you saying leading the way, in terms of like they started doing that first, like no, I feel like the Heat's been building their team, and the Heat went to the final.
I mean, the Celtics have been building that team, have been consistently going to the playoffs without a true superstar for years.
2 years ago, they beat Boston to get there with kind of the same team. They didn't have a big 3 or anything like that.
So Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo, and
bubble frauds.
So you can say the Heat.
This is gonna trigger game bubble frauds.
Guess what? In the bubble, they didn't have no cheating. They, all their shit was 10 foot. It wasn't no inches between.
So, like I said, you gotta throw the Heat in that. I don't think the Boston is leading the way.
I said Heat first, even before I said Boston. At both those teams, but I think of Boston because for how many years in a row they've been like top 4 teams in the East, like top 4 in the East consistently without a true star. Because even when Kyrie went there, he essentially didn't even play for them. Like, that's what I'm saying. Boston, like they've just consistently had a very strongly built team across like the bench and all their role players and everything.
All right, now I'm going to talk about CP3. Anytime we have UD teams in the playoffs, right? The stars rise, right? The stars show up. Can we all agree?
There we go.
The stars grow up. If you're a star, you show up, right? In the playoffs.
Low-hanging fruit. Going after an old point guard.
Listen, the guy's been in the league for 30 years, okay? You get to one final. And you're like, oh, he said I'm addicted. He's like, oh, I like the taste of final. I like you're not there, okay? We're not watching you right now. Okay? You're at home somewhere. You're on the banana boat, Cancun, somewhere, watching. But no, just talking in general, because this is what Julian tried to bring up. Like, I think teams, especially guys that get older and older, like, we hope to see these young teams, right? I think of like Memphis, these young guys. You get a Ja Morant, a superstar, and you get a couple of guys around them, and you hope, there's a kind of Cinderella teams that you kind of root for. Miami Heat, maybe they don't talk about them. We have guys that are pretty good, but maybe people don't talk about them. They don't regard them as superstars, and you kind of root for them to go deep in the playoffs or whatever. So I still think, as far as this conversation, like as long as there's elite players and players that like each other, they're gonna try to group together, and they're gonna be if they're friends, they're gonna try to play with each other and fucking have fun doing shit, whatever. Live in New York and have fun. I still think it's still possible. Like, this shit is gonna happen. Like, we're just going in. We're seeing the later generations, right? Kevin Durant, I don't know how long he's been in the league, but man's been in the league for a while. And we're seeing like kind of the end of the generation. So it's kind of cool to see the newer guys, young guys, to grow. Guys that we kind of follow through college and just kind of grow, and they'll be the next generation of the next people we see.
So what does this have to do with hitting on Chris Paul, though?
Pretty much.
I just wanted to say it. You just
CP3 and LeBron. They're too old, man. Go retire, man.
Why do you have to throw in LeBron?
Take him to a farm upstate.
LeBron is still a top 5 in the league at age 40. Leave him alone.
Just take him to time to put you down.
What's that book? It's like that famous book. I know you know what I'm talking about. That famous fucking book. They did that.
For the young generation, just to tell these guys to retire. Like,
CP3 overrated. I just want to get that in there. I've said it before. I'll say it again. CP3 overrated. Hall of Famer.